Officer James Anderson, a 37-year-old Caucasian police officer, had always harbored deep-seated racist beliefs. His interactions with the African American community were marred by prejudice and an abuse of power. His superiors turned a blind eye to his actions, allowing his racism to persist unchecked. One fateful summer day, Officer Anderson spotted Marcus Johnson, a 27-year-old African American man, walking peacefully down the street. Fueled by his biased assumptions, Officer Anderson approached Marcus aggressively, questioning his every move without any valid reason. Marcus, aware of the officer's racist reputation, tried his best to remain calm and cooperative, but the unjust harassment was unbearable. Marcus had endured Officer Anderson's unjust behavior for years, as had many others in the community. But this time, something inside him snapped. He knew he couldn't allow this abuse to continue any longer, not just for himself but for the countless others who had suffered as well. Marcus decided to take a stand. He got a private investigator to record the incident on his smartphone, capturing every word of Officer Anderson's racist diatribe. The officer's face turned red with rage as he realized his actions were being documented. Marcus hoped this evidence would bring about the justice he and the community desperately needed. Marcus took the footage to the local news station, whose investigative journalists were known for their dedication to exposing corruption. The story quickly gained national attention, igniting public outrage. The footage served as undeniable proof of Officer Anderson's racist behavior and misuse of authority. Facing mounting pressure, the police department conducted an internal investigation. Witnesses came forward, sharing their own experiences with Officer Anderson's racism. As the truth became increasingly impossible to ignore, the department had no choice but to suspend Officer Anderson pending further disciplinary actions. Marcus, determined to seek justice, filed a civil rights lawsuit against Officer Anderson and the police department. He was supported by a team of passionate attorneys dedicated to fighting against systemic racism. The case garnered significant media coverage, shedding light on the broader issue of racial bias within law enforcement. During the trial, witnesses came forward to testify against Officer Anderson. They shared their personal experiences of racial profiling and discrimination at his hands. The jury was presented with overwhelming evidence, including the damning video recording. It was clear that Officer Anderson's actions were driven by racial hatred. After weeks of emotional testimony, the jury reached a unanimous decision. Officer James Anderson was found guilty of violating Marcus's civil rights and engaging in racial harassment. The court ordered him to pay a substantial financial settlement to Marcus as a form of compensation for the physical and emotional distress he had endured. Furthermore, the verdict sent shockwaves throughout the law enforcement community, prompting reforms and increased scrutiny of officers' behavior. Police departments implemented stricter accountability measures, focusing on addressing racial bias and providing extensive training to officers. Officer Anderson's conviction and subsequent public backlash were a turning point in his life. It was a profound moment of self-realization and remorse. Imprisoned, he had time to reflect on his actions and the harm he had caused. He realized the depth of his prejudice and the impact it had on individuals and communities. During his incarceration, Officer Anderson sought therapy and actively engaged in programs focused on combating racism. Upon his release, Officer Anderson became a tireless advocate for police reform, particularly in addressing racial bias within law enforcement. He dedicated his life to educating others about the dangers of racism and promoting dialogue between communities and officers. The story of Officer Anderson and Marcus Johnson became a symbol of redemption and the potential for change. It served as a wake-up call for communities across the nation to confront racism and systemic prejudice. Their shared story became a testament to the power of forgiveness and the possibility of growth, demonstrating that even the darkest past can lead to a brighter future. People were inspired by their story of redemption and the potential for genuine change. The community decided to come together and organize a series of events aimed at fostering healing, understanding, and unity. Town hall meetings were held, allowing community members, activists, and law enforcement representatives to engage in open discussions about racial biases and the need for reform. These meetings provided a safe space for people to share their experiences, concerns, and ideas for creating a more equitable and inclusive community. Recognizing the importance of education in combating racism, workshops and training sessions for both police officers and civilians were organized. They designed programs that focused on empathy, cultural sensitivity, and effective communication, aiming to break down stereotypes and build bridges of trust. Officer Anderson, now dedicated to reforming the police force, actively sought ways to regain the trust of the community. He initiated neighborhood outreach programs, where officers engaged in positive interactions with residents, especially in predominantly African American communities. These initiatives aimed to bridge the gap between law enforcement and citizens, fostering a sense of safety and understanding. Marcus, having witnessed Officer Anderson's genuine transformation, became an influential advocate for police accountability and community police relations. He used his platform to encourage dialogue between officers and community members, emphasizing the importance of recognizing each other's humanity and working together for a better future. News outlets and social media platforms picked up their narrative, spreading their message of redemption, forgiveness, and the possibility of change. Their story served as a catalyst for similar conversations and initiatives across the nation. Police departments in various cities took notice, realizing the urgent need for reform within their own ranks. Inspired by the example set by Officer Anderson, many officers began actively confronting their own biases and engaging in self-reflection. Police departments implemented comprehensive training programs focused on de-escalation tactics, implicit bias, and community engagement. National organizations dedicated to combating racial injustice invited Officer Anderson and Marcus to share their experiences and insights at conferences and panel discussions. Their joint appearances garnered attention and support, providing hope and guidance to those seeking to dismantle systemic racism within law enforcement. Years passed, and the impact of Officer Anderson's and Marcus's journey continued to reverberate throughout society. Their collective efforts led to substantial changes in police practices and community relations, creating a more just and equitable environment for all. Officer Anderson became a respected leader within the police force, serving as a mentor to new officers and a driving force behind ongoing reform efforts. His personal transformation inspired others to confront their biases and strive for a more compassionate and unbiased approach to policing. Marcus, fueled by his own experience, became a prominent advocate for social justice and racial equality. He dedicated his life to empowering marginalized communities, working with organizations to address systemic issues and promote access to education and economic opportunities. The legacy of Officer Anderson and Marcus's story endured, reminding society of the power of redemption, forgiveness, and unity. Their journey served as a constant reminder that change is possible when individuals confront their biases, engage in dialogue, and work together to create a world where justice and equality prevail. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more.